Good evening, brothers and sisters. Today, I thought I'll talk about Buddhism and science. And I don't know about you, but when I came in, I heard our late chief talking about the same topic, which is a very nice way to introduce you to the topic. Maybe I should tell you that Brother Prem has just told me that every time we have a talk like this, at 7:30, we play Chief's old tapes. All right, so that you can see what a great mind he had and how he could handle almost any topic. Okay, so please do come early to listen to Chief. This is my last talk for this place. Last week, somebody announced that this is my last talk and stopped there. No lah, and I plan to live a bit longer than that. Okay, for this series. Okay, now Buddhism and science. Actually, when you think of it, it's a very cliche, very tired old topic. I mean, everybody likes to talk about Buddhism and science. All right, but I was hoping that because it's the last talk, to sort of put the balance right and see whether we can compare apples and oranges. Yeah, they are both fruits, but do they have the same flavor? Do they have the same taste? Or even, do they have the same function? Okay, but in a very extended sense, yes, they do have a similar function. Both deal with human beings. All right, but where does one stop and where does the other begin, or whatever? All right? Buddhism and science. And my first point is, maybe it is best not to compare Buddhism and science, because religion basically is beyond science. Although later, as we will see, religion did have its origins. Science had its origins in religious beliefs. We will try and examine that, how science came into being as a result of man's inquisitive nature. Human beings were looking around, trying to understand what this universe is all about, and one byproduct of that was religion. Another byproduct was science. So in that case, they are fruits, apples and oranges. Okay? But you see the last line there, Dr. Mahathir. He said, science can explain what and how, but not why. Interestingly, he made this remark about 8-9 years ago when we had the World Buddhist Conference in Shah Alam. He was invited to deliver the keynote address, and that's where he said that science can explain the what and the how. And later we'll see definitions of science and how science concern is the what and the how. But science is never concerned with why. And this why is the area of religion. I remember our late chief saying a long time ago that it's wrong to compare Buddhism and science as two opposing factors, but rather as two complementary factors, more like in a yin and yang relationship. All right? Where he said that we have to see science and religion as the blind man and a lame man. They both want to go somewhere, but the blind man cannot see where he is going, but his legs are strong. The lame man can see where he is going, but his legs are weak. But if the two of them cooperated and the lame man was carried on the shoulders of the blind man, then the eyes and the legs both work and they can move forward. Maybe that's the relationship we should be looking at between religion and science. The two are interrelated, not necessarily opposed to each other. And we'll see in the history of the Western world particularly, the two have been in conflict, and we would say quite unnecessarily so. Okay? Right now, science is more interested in a mechanistic explanation of the universe. How does this universe operate? Whereas religion is more concerned with why are we here? What is the purpose? Is there a purpose? Yeah? Do we have a special function to perform here as individual human beings? And religion supplies that need. Okay? Right. Now, this, I told you, it is quite a cliche subject, religion and science. Every time Buddhists sit down to talk, they talk two things. One, they talk about dukkha. Then when they get tired of talking about dukkha, they say religion is, Buddhism is very scientific. They love to say that. Buddhism is very scientific. Not realizing, to my mind, they are not doing Buddhism a favor by saying that Buddhism needs the approval of science. If it fits in with science, then it must be good. As if everything about science is good. I would prefer to say the other way around. Yeah? Buddhism approves of science, not the other way around. I'll tell you why this has happened. Yeah? Because what is called the scientific revolution, it took place about the 17th century in Europe. Yeah? After a long period of domination by religion, in this case by Christianity, the other side, the science began to develop. Excuse me. Thank you for coming, Bante. Okay, I was just saying, Bante, that we shouldn't compare Buddhism and science, and this is a very tired old topic which was made very popular in the last century. Yeah? In the last century, Buddhists, mainly Buddhist speakers who could speak English from Sri Lanka, they were going to the West to bring Buddhism to the West for the first time. Of course, earlier to that, there were already many German scholars and so on who had come to India to study, and they had brought Buddhism to the West. But Asian monks, when they went to the West, they had this problem of trying to counteract the propaganda against Buddhism. That it was a pagan religion, they were idol worshippers, they had no answers, they were very pessimistic, they only knew how to talk about dukkha, 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 yeah, and then when they die, they want to become nothing. And yes, and as recently as at the end of the last century, the previous Pope actually made a statement to that effect, speaking as the Pope, alright? And so, when these monks had to go, they had to counteract that. And they had to say, no, Buddhism is not a mumbo-jumbo religion. They don't believe in spirits and so on. And they had to explain that. And at that time, while they were doing this, science had reached a very, very high level of respect. How did that happen? One of the first things to happen was, in Europe, there was an information explosion because they had developed printing. And one of the reasons why the Protestant church came into being was because the Catholic Church had been challenged by the Protestants, Martin Luther and so on, and his ideas were spread by the printing. The invention of printing. So information could spread. One. Then there was the French Revolution, where people for the first time realized that it is not God who appoints a king to enjoy life, but it's people who have the power. And people need to think for themselves. Right? Then came, even more importantly, the Industrial Revolution, which showed that ordinary people were important. Not the church, not the priest, not the religion, but people power became important. Then come people like Copernicus, Galileo, Darwin, these were the first people who observed and were beginning to say, look, this world was not created by a God. This world was always there, and everything is not the work of God but the work of evolution. So you see now new ideas are beginning to develop. Then to that we were told the world is not 4,000 years old. The world is as old as 4 billion years. And biology, astronomy, geology, all these logies, sciences came together. The result of that was by the end of the 19th century, religion was becoming very, very weak. And religion had no answers to these challenges. Now, so the new religion became science. All right? And the other religions based on faith and belief took a back seat. When that happened, when Buddhism went to Europe, Buddhism had to find some kind of stand to be accepted. And they said, hey look, the religions that you have practiced so far, they don't have the answers. We have the scientific answers. So they went overboard by saying everything about Buddhism is science. Alright? And that's where I can say that, it's not fair to do that. Yes, there are a lot of the Buddha's methods. Well, as I shall try and point to you, the Buddha's methods were extremely scientific. The methods were scientific. His explanation of the universe fall in with definitions of the universe. Yeah? But science stops short where Buddhism continues. That is going to be what I'm going to talk about tonight. That Buddhism is beyond science. So that's what I'm trying to convince you about. Yeah? The split between faith and reason. For a good 1,000 years, people in Europe were told, as long as you have faith, that's all you need. You don't need to know. You should not know. Depend on faith and depend on dogma. What we tell you, you believe. If you challenge it, you will go to hell. But people like Copernicus, Galileo, Darwin, all of them, let me give you an example. I think it was Copernicus who proved that the earth goes round the sun. Not as had always been believed, the sun goes round the earth. Now when he said that, the church pulled him up and said, we are going to burn you, unless you retract. So he was scared. He came and he told publicly to everybody, I'm sorry, I told you that the earth goes round the sun. Actually, like the church says, the sun goes round the earth. Now everybody has, but as he was standing up, he muttered to himself, but it still goes round the sun. Publicly I tell you what, but I still believe. And now we know that he was proven. People had the courage to stand up and say, look, we are human beings, we have the right to use our brains. Science gave them that courage, alright, at one time. And then, of course, what we call the faith religions took a beating. Alright, and that's something that took 100 years to evolve. Alright? Now, while that was happening in the East, because of Taoism, Confucianism, Zen Buddhism, Buddhism generally, Hinduism, we had more or less always concerned ourselves with spirituality. We were less interested in how the universe observed. You know, the Chinese, they invented the compass. Yeah, they invented gunpowder but used it to frighten spirits. Alright, it was the Western people who used it to conquer the world. Okay? And so, why? They were not interested in conquering the universe. They were more interested in how can I be happy here and now. And here comes this word, how can I be happy? Science, for the most part, by conquering nature, gives us a lot of things that we have to be grateful for. Air conditioning, beautiful buildings, roads, all this is science. Gives us good medicine, all this is science. Yes, we are happy in one sense. But mentally, can science ever make us happy? Yeah? Physical happiness, yes, which is very important. But higher than that, do we have mental peace of mind? Can science provide that? Yeah? Somebody said, if Buddhism ever is going to make an impact in the West, then Buddhism must spread psychology. The back door to the West is through psychology, because Buddhism has undeniable, what people are quoting today about the mind is all from the Buddha. So that is because our concern was not physical comfort as much as mental peace of mind. So, and the Buddha was very clear about that. Okay? Right. Now, the next point is very interesting. What is religion? What is religion? When you look in the Oxford Dictionary, which by the way is written with a Christian mentality, with a monotheistic God mentality, alright? Religion is the human recognition of a superhuman controlling power. A superhuman controlling power, especially of a personal God entitled to obedience. Now, if you call Buddhism a religion, none of this fits in with Buddhism as a religion. Superhuman controlling power, out. Personal God, out. Entitled to obedience, out. Okay? Yet, Buddhism does qualify as a religion. Look at the anthropologist, a scientist, who looks at the same problem and he says, this is what religion is. Religion consists of the belief that there is an unseen order, that although everything looks chaotic, there is a system in the universe. Now if you think of Taoism, the Taoists talk about the yin and the yang and everything emanating from the Tao and going back to the Tao. No God is involved. By the same token, Buddhism says the same thing. This is the Dharma. And what is Dharma? What upholds? What is it that upholds the universe? And what upholds the universe are the principles on which this universe operates. It does not operate with the controlling God. This is the way the universe is. We human beings look like we human beings because we breathe oxygen. And that's because there's oxygen on this planet. We evolved to look like this as a result of things. No original plan. Life, from a Buddhist point of view, was not created by a God. Our late chief was just talking about that. Was not created by a God, but life always existed. And today, that life is manifesting itself as you and me, and the world we see around us. But this does not mean if this world is destroyed, that life is destroyed as well. We will go somewhere else and colonize another planet. Okay? So, religion consists of the belief there is an unseen order. Our supreme good lies in harmoniously adjusting ourselves thereto. Look at this word unseen order. Look at this word harmony, yin and yang. Alright? True. Adjusting, we adjust it. We adjust to the world around. We don't, like what science is doing, controlling the world, adjusting the world to suit us. As a result of that, what happens? We destroy the forests, we destroy the natural habitats, we pollute the air. Why? Because we want to control the universe. Unlike the Taoists and the Buddhists, they would say, no, leave the universe alone. You fit yourself into that universe. See the difference? Okay? So these two things come together. So by the second token, how do I adjust myself to the conditions of the universe? That is Buddhism. Therefore, Buddhism is a religion by the second definition, not the first. Okay? Right. Now, I'll go through this very fast because I got about 30 slides to go through. But not to worry, I only have about 4 hours. Okay, right. Origin of religion. You see, when man first looked out at the universe, when I get excited, I must stand up. When human beings began to first think, and they looked at the universe, they saw a lot of things they could not understand. But they were manusya. Manusya means that which has a mind which can be developed. Mano, mind. And this mind can be developed. Animals have minds, but they can't develop the minds because they don't have language and so on. We have that capacity. With that capacity, our early ancestors, about 20,000-30,000 years ago, developed what is called self-consciousness. They became aware they were different from the universe. I am me, and that thing around me. What is the relationship? One. They also had, you see, noumena. No, not noumena here. All of us have this capacity for religion. And that a word called noumena. Noumena is, if you have been to Batu Caves and you go in there, you don't have to be a Hindu, or go to a church, go to a mosque, go anywhere, go to a jungle where there's huge trees, and you are all alone. What sense do you get? You get this sense of awe, this powerful thing. I feel I am so small. And that there must be something more powerful than me outside. That we call noumena. Okay? And that our ancestors also had. Thunder, lightning, rain, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Nature was so powerful. Huge animals chasing you. And I am so weak. That I began to ask myself, where do I fit in? What does all this mean? Why is there lightning? Why is there thunder? Why is it making me so frightened? What I could not understand, I said is God. God of the gaps. See that one? Whatever I don't understand is God. When I don't understand thunder, lightning, rain, earthquakes and so on, I say this is the work of God. Then along comes science. And science begins to explain, no, this is not thunder and lightning. This is just clouds whacking each other. These are electrical discharges. Look, this tsunami is not because God is angry with you. This is because of plate tectonics. Now, as science develops and our knowledge of the universe grows, God's power becomes less and less and less. So as time goes by and science evolves and our knowledge begins to evolve, we rely less and less on God for most explanations. Alright? Now the question is, Dr. Mahathir said, will this universe, we will explain what and the how. But can we ever explain why? Why are we born? How we are born, we know. Why are we born? Why do we die? Why do we die when we die? Why is some people very rich? Why are some people poor? Why? So long as you cannot answer why, you need God. Now the question is, will we ever able to cross? We can. That's called enlightenment. You see? And you will notice that only the Buddha was able to cross that line and then teach others, of course. Then the Arahants come. A point will come when our understanding of the universe is so perfect that we won't need to explain anything through God anymore. And that explains Buddhism, where we don't need to explain things out of ignorance, because we looked in a different direction. Okay? So, that is a... Now, most religions, and now given all that, with the noumena, we also became aware that there were things we cannot see, very powerful forces, animism, thunder, lightning, rain. Yeah, have you noticed that when you go and see these sculptures made by aboriginal art, yeah, and some primitive religions, their gods are always, yeah, because they got big teeth and very powerful. Why is that? What I imagine is what I create. When I imagine these guys, they're not like me, puny little fellows, but they got teeth coming out, tongue coming out, legs, 4 hands, very, very much stronger than me. So gods were seen, now this is another interesting factor, gods were always seen as fierce and unhelpful. They're waiting to whack you anytime, and our job is to keep them as happy as possible. Okay? Now you can ask yourself, how did this idea that God is good and kind come about? Yeah? When you speak to these fierce gods who are waiting to help you, you cannot come and say, oh, you fierce, ugly fellow, you come and help me. What have you got to do? You have to go and say, hello, you're so nice, you're so kind, you're so beautiful, please take my bribe, which is called sacrifice, and help me. Okay? As time goes on, these pujo memujo, this kind of praises to appease that powerful God became more and more powerful, and the actual nature of God as a fierce, unfriendly, angry being, yeah, always in need of placation. You need to pray to Him. This idea became softer, and the soft, good, kind God came. Which is why you have this problem. If God is so good, why must we suffer? If God is so good, why do we have politicians who are so corrupt? If God is so good, why do I fall sick? Why do I have got to grow old? Yeah? Why do little children have to suffer? Where is a good God? To the point that some Jews, about 100 years ago, declared God is dead. Why? Because of war and so on. There's so much suffering. How can there be a good God? But if you explain it from this way, then you understand why God is good. Okay? But that's not our concern. Alright, but then, so from those early religions right up to now, the function of the priest, the function of religion is to be free from danger. To be free from danger. So I want to escape all these bad things. And of course, I want to be free from fear. And where does fear come from? God of the cats, ignorance. The less I know, the more afraid I am. That is why the Buddha can never be afraid. And you know this yourselves. As the older you grow, the more experience you get, the less fear you have. The more you know, the less fear you have. Okay? And so on. Now, of course, the function of the priest was to act as a go-between between the two, which is what a Buddhist monk is not. Unlike a Brahmin priest, you don't use the priest to speak to God. Yeah, you don't even need to speak to God. You don't need to speak to the Buddha. You develop yourself. Okay? Right. Priests were actually the first scientists. What were the priests doing? These shamans. Yeah, you go to a Bomo. You have a stomach ache. You have a bad dream. Alright? He does all kinds of things. The function of the priest is to control nature. You want certain things to happen to you, you pray. Who does the praying for you? The priest. So what is the priest doing? Controlling nature. And what is controlling nature? Religion. You see that? Religion is there to do what you want to happen with nature around you. Always asking for favors. Okay? Nobody has religion for fun. So kurang-kurangnya, at least when I die, I want to go to heaven. I want some good for me. Alright? Science provides a lot of that in a material sense. Now the Buddha says, no, don't try and escape from danger. Danger will always be there. Somebody asked me a few years ago, Uncle Vijaya, if I don't want to die in a tsunami, what do I do? I said, very easy. You don't want to die in a tsunami, go and live in the mountain. But then there will be an earthquake, you come back down. You cannot escape. This is the way the universe is. So don't try to escape from danger, the Buddha says. Escape from suffering. Suffering is how you perceive the danger. And once your understanding arises and you see things as they really are, what is really causes you suffering is not suffering. Alright? And you will understand. So, the Buddhist point of view is not to escape from danger, but to escape from suffering. And therefore, you have the Four Noble Truths. It's a completely different ball game altogether. Okay? Right. Now, here's a definition of science. Any system of knowledge that is concerned with the physical world. What I can see, what I can observe. Science is not terribly concerned with what happens in your mind, although psychology is now playing a very important role. Alright? But it is a fairly new science. Science has traditionally been interested in controlling nature for your benefit. Controlling the weather, controlling the way rivers flow, etc. Okay? But and its phenomena, the physical world and its phenomena. How do tsunamis occur and so on? That entails, now here's the important word, unbiased observation, systematic experimentation. Now, I want to share with you the Four Noble Truths. Alright? And this is what happened. When the Buddha was enlightened, he decided, oh, by the way, this is a small commercial, in the next full moon, we are going to recite, the monks will be reciting the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That will be the first sermon given by the Buddha after his enlightenment. This is a particularly important occasion this year because it is the 2600th anniversary of that first sermon. So please, if you can make it, I think it's on a Friday. The Dhammacakka, yes. Sorry? Oh, good question. What can we gain by listening to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra? You can get peace of mind. If you listen to it with the right... Don't think by going there all your bad luck will go away. I'm warning you. Okay? What will happen if you read the translation? The Buddha explains this. That's why I was reminded of this. Alright? And what he is going to explain to you is, don't try and escape danger. I tell you there is suffering, and I will tell you how to overcome that suffering. Okay? And that is your magic. That is the magic. That's what you will gain out of it. But you'll also gain, to me, a huge psychological benefit. Knowing that you are participating in something that happened 2600 years ago, which was kept alive by our ancestors. So you're connecting 2600. It's going to be a very, very touching moment. Okay? Right. But let me come back. That entails unbiased. Why did I remember this? Because when the Buddha had been enlightened and he decided that he is going to meet the 5 ascetics to give the first sermon, which is 2 months after his enlightenment, which is next month. Before he could do that, he started to walk. When he walked, he met a ascetic. And to cut a long story short, he met the ascetic, and the ascetic asked him, who is your teacher? Alright? And the Buddha said, I know the things that are to be known. I have discovered all of this myself. I have found the secret to life's questions. I've done this all that. Whom can I call a teacher? I do not have a teacher. I did all this by. Now, the point. Upaka listened to him and said, it may be so. Mungkin juga. The Buddha's first person the Buddha meets, and the Buddha is telling him this, and he turns around and says, okay, well. Why? Because there was no way Upaka could test what the Buddha was claiming. I have no teacher. I know all that there is to be known. I have found the secret of eternal life. I know all the... How is Upaka to know? So Upaka said, okay lah. Why? At that point, the Buddha was telling him to accept something on faith. I don't know whether it is true, but believe me. So Upaka said no. And characteristically, the Buddha did not say, oh, first convert already, I would think I want a failure. Pow! You dare, anybody else want... No. What Buddhists still today do, you don't want to believe, it's okay, you go. You are not ready. I go my way. No conversion. Okay? So, anyway, but when he meets the scientific method, when he must meet the first ascetics, the 5 ascetics, they too are very skeptical. They also don't want to accept him on faith. They sit down, and then the Buddha, unbiased observation, systematic experimentation. For 6 years, for 29 years, he had enjoyed pleasure, but he had found no peace. 6 years, he tortured himself. He practiced everything by himself. Systematic experimentation. No teacher. And what did he discover from that? The middle path. When he discovered the middle path, then he started to give his body what it needs and so on. His mind was now calm. He attained nirvana. Okay? Now, having got that, he goes and meets these 5, not telling them, hey, I am the Buddha, you have to believe me. If you don't, you're going to go to hell. Instead, he says, monks, what I'm going to teach you, is the 4 noble truths. There is suffering. Notice he does not say we must suffer because God is angry with us, punishment for sin and so on. He simply makes an observable statement. There is suffering. Now in case they misunderstand, he says, birth is suffering, old age is suffering, disease is suffering, death is suffering. Why are they suffering? Because you have no control over them. Because of your ignorance, you cannot control it. You are helpless. There's no way you can change this impermanency of your life. That is suffering. Then in case they still don't believe him, he asks them to observe something even closer. What I want, I do not get. What I do not want follows after me. The pleasant I chase, I don't get. The unpleasant I run away from, I don't get. Both ways I am a victim. Now, there was not one of those 5 monks who could turn around and say, hey, come on lah, you ask me. Buddha is not asking you to believe. The Buddha is asking you to observe. And that is falling right into. Now, not enough to just explain. Then you must understand the cause. A tsunami is not caused by God. A tsunami is plain tectonic. You must know that. Then what causes that? Then you got to go further. Then, how can you escape? You can escape in 2 ways. 1, run away. 2, be prepared. Be prepared. Even if you are not killed by that tsunami, you will die anyway. Are you ready or not? Yeah.
Still not stay.
Yeah.
Like Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. Quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
We Buddhists used to chant.
Yeah.
We chant, may the planet be alive.
Yeah. Okay.
That means when we chant, we listen to some kind of entity.
Yeah.
We chant.
Quick, get your point.
I think, like you say, how do what of this ceremony or
Yeah.
maybe chant a lot.
Yeah.
And this kind of chanting is full
Yes.
structure.
Yeah.
We can change.
Oh, okay. We cannot change. We can influence. We do very strongly believe that the mind has very strong powers, which is also being discovered by psychologists today. And that if all of us have the same mind, and the same mind of goodwill and concern and non-harm, we can influence the planets. But we cannot change. I challenge you to sit there when a tsunami is coming and say metta, metta. It cannot work. That's why you have to use your understanding of it. And the Buddha says that himself. Don't try and escape death. Yeah? Escape the consequences of your actions. Okay? Go on. Okay. I've got very little time. I've got a lot to go through. Okay. Because I haven't come to Buddhism yet. Other religions seek to solve problems by ethical behavior. Now that's an important point. Most religions, including Buddhism, 5 precepts, will teach you that if you are good, if you obey the laws of the religion, don't kill, don't steal, whatever, Buddhism included, that if you do all these things, you will be free. You will be safe. You will go to heaven. Alright? But there again, we have to take this into in a strike. That will you actually escape from, by going to heaven, that we have to say, in Buddhism it is taught that heaven is a temporary place. That is part of the wheel. Yeah? And that heaven is simply an extension of pleasurable feelings, which are temporary. Only nirvana is permanent. Okay? Now, it says that if you behave well, you will go to heaven. Yes, Buddhism says the same thing. That if you observe the 5 precepts, you could be born as a deva. You will go to heaven. But Buddhism teaches us that that state of mind is, your mind has not been purified yet. As a result, you will be reborn. No, cannot. You have to ask your questions afterwards. No. And then Buddhism seeks to help the individual to understand. Buddhism seeks to help the individual to understand his condition. Who are you? What is your problem? Your problem as part of a whole, but you have an individual problem. If you solve your individual problem for yourself, then you have solved a lot of other problems as well. So work for your individual salvation. In working for your individual salvation, you will be serving others as well. For example, if I don't kill, I am controlling my own good karma. But in my not killing and doing good to myself, I am protecting the life around me. So, but the first step is that the Buddha had to become a Buddha first before he started to teach others. Okay? Right. Now, what are the concerns of science? Security needs, control of nature. I think that is by itself. Yeah. Science is for the very intelligent few. Buddhism is for the masses. In fact, religion, all of religion is for the masses. Yeah, and Buddhism included. Yeah, but science, you need to have special training, special everything. That's one of the 2 differences. All right. Science concerned with verifiable truths describes reality like the Buddha described the 4 noble truths. He establishes truth on ocular things you can see. Yeah, verification by experiment. The Buddha talks about ehi passiko. The Buddha says, don't wait until you die to see the results of what you are doing now. If you do good, the results are immediate. Yeah? And one of the translations of akalika is timeless, no time consideration. That means even in this lifetime, you can experience the results. Do good and good follows you. Yeah? Develop your mind, develop your compassion. The results are to be felt and verified in this life itself. Okay? And that is by experiment, which anyone can undertake. You don't need a training. Any person with the right attitude can practice the Buddha's teaching at various levels. The level of devotion or the level of understanding. Okay? Alright. Okay. Here we always say, this is the Dhamma, the description of the Dhamma, well expounded. For 45 years, the Buddha said, I have explained to you how the universe operates. I have explained to you the beginning, the middle, and the end. Yeah? All aspects of the Dhamma. Okay? It's well examined. To be self-realized, you cannot have somebody telling you how to understand your nature. Somebody asked the Buddha, how do you summarize your teaching? The Buddha said very easy. Do good, avoid evil, purify the mind. 3 things only. Do good, avoid evil, purify the mind. Purification of the mind can only be done by yourself. It cannot be done by outsiders. Alright? No God can come and save you in that sense. Okay? So, to be self-realized with immediate fruit, akaliko. Yeah? No time lapse. You don't have to wait to go to heaven. Okay? And then, to be approached, to be seen. Meaning anybody can experience this. The Dharma is of that nature. Anybody can experiment, anybody can practice it. Yeah? Capable of being, that's important. Nobody is exempted. Men, women, children, clever, stupid, yeah, black, white, no religion, and no racial differences, nothing. Why? Because anybody can experience the teachings of the Buddha at various levels. Simplest level, dana. Yeah? But dana alone is not enough, sila. Sila is not alone, not enough, you must develop your mind. Bhavana. Dana, sila, bhavana. Everybody can practice at different levels. Okay? What is yata bhutam? Yata bhutam is what science demands. No matter what personal points you have in your mind about anything, any experience, yeah, you must understand that you have to see things as they really are. Not what you think they are, what they really is. For example, is this a $100 note? Yes, it is. Yeah, but is it ultimately speaking, is it a $100 note? No. What is it? A piece of paper. And what is a piece of paper? Carbon. And what is carbon? Molecule, etc. We can go on forever. Okay? But when you see things as they really are, yeah, then your perception of this, your attachment to this will fail. Do I see this Vijaya as it really is, or do I see it as something? Do I see him as Brother Prem? Yeah? Or what is he really? So if he tells me anything, do I get angry with him? I have to understand, to see things as they really are. We have to make that effort. And that is what science demands as well. Not on your personal biases, but on your exact understanding. To do that, you must use your intelligence. Okay? Right. The Buddha rejected useless metaphysical explanations for speculation. For example, Malungkya Putta. There was this monk. He had come from another religion and he was ordained under the Buddha. But he could not get rid of some of the teachings of the other religion. So he came to the Buddha and he challenges the Buddha and tells the Buddha, you have to explain to me, does the world have a beginning? Does the world have no beginning? Does the world have both a beginning and a no beginning? Alright? Does the world have an ending? Does the world have no ending? Does the world have both an ending and a no ending? If you cannot explain this to me, I am going to leave you. Now that was a challenge he gives the Buddha. And the Buddha said, Malungkya Putta, you will never get an answer from me if you challenge me like this. Okay? I am not obliged to give you. You say you want to leave me. In the first place, did I ask you to follow me? If I didn't, then you are free to leave. And this is a step about Buddhism. Nobody forcing you, nobody stopping you, okay? So, but, then the Buddha explained, you are like a man who has been struck by a poisoned arrow. This arrow is poison and you are going to die in a few minutes and your friends come to pull it out and you say, no, wait, I want to know who pulled the arrow. I want to know what is the poison made from. I want to know who's the mother of the guy who shot the arrow. I want to know his caste. By the time they found out all the answers, he was dead. Useless information. The Buddha says, Malungkya Putta, you are struck by the poison arrow of existence. You are here now. You have got, don't worry about yesterday, don't worry about today. To now, you have a problem. So do something about it now. Okay? And that is what he means by useless metaphysical speculation. Is there a God? Is there not a God? Will we ever know? Will we ever know, did the egg come first or the hen come first? And we can argue about it. Why? The Hindus were doing it. The Brahmins were doing it. And the Buddha said, no, I don't want all this. I want you to see, observe, and act accordingly. Which is, again to come back, the scientific method. Not what you believe, but what you want to examine and understand. Alright? Okay, the Buddhist worldview, I just explained that. How do we view the world? We view the world as not created by a God. It's something that is already there, and whatever it is, we have inherited it. There is nothing we can do to change that, so we just have to learn how to live with it. Okay? So that is and the world operates according to what are called the niyamas. Niyamas are cosmic laws. Yeah? The bija niyama, the chitta niyama, the kamma niyama, dhamma niyama. Alright? These are the ways in which the universe operates. For example, the seed, the order of the seed. A mango seed produces a mango tree. Cannot produce a banana tree. Okay? One. And the seasons. You cannot avoid the seasons. This is the way the world is. Karma, you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get evil. Dhamma niyama and so on. So these are the ways in which the universe operates, which has nothing to do with God. This is the way. And you have to understand how that universe operates, work in accordance with those laws. Don't change those laws. Understand them and work accordingly. That is the way the Chinese would call it Wu Wei. Asserting yourself without force. So how do you go with the flow of the world? Alright? And that way you cut down your stress. Okay? Right. Now, what are the principles on which the universe operates? Remember the worldview? Three things. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. The Buddha said in a second, you see the first sermon he gave, he talked about this. And at the end of the suffering, the cause of suffering and all that, alright? At the end of that first sermon, only one of the 5 monks listening to him understood. Why? Because they came from a Hindu background. And they were all believers in a soul. Alright, they were believers of the Atman. That was the same problem that Malunkyā Buddha had. Yeah? Believers in the soul. And the Buddha had to give the second sermon. And that second sermon was 1 week after. It's called the Anatta Lakkana Sutra, where he had to explain there is no soul. Remember, see things as they really are. Because of our ignorance, we mistake this for a body and a soul. But the Buddha says there is no body and no soul, there's only a process. And this process is subject to these 3 universal principles. Nothing is permanent, anicca. Now you can apply this right across the board. This is why we again say the Buddha is being scientific. It applies across the board, and it is akalika, no time frame involved. If you are talking about existence, it is anicca. There is nothing in the universe, including the planet Earth itself, is not permanent. Alright? Anicca. Then the next one is anatta. Nothing, because everything is a process, there is no permanent self, no permanent reality behind this apparent reality. Anicca, anatta. Because these things are constantly changing, they are all the time impermanent, we have the third principle that everything is dukkha. Because you cannot stop anicca, and you have no power to do it, that is dukkha. And that applies right across everything that exists. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Alright? And that is the worldview of the Buddhist. Knowing that, how do we live according to those laws? Yeah? Science does not accept that. So science tries to change things violently. So there's a huge amount of violence, which in Buddhism is not acceptable. Well, in many ways, very close to Taoism. Many ways, okay? Buddhism does not recognize a God who can interfere with nature, okay? It is a superstition-free. Superstition in the sense of believing things you cannot see. Believing things you cannot prove. Whatever you can, including, by the way, ghosts and spirits. Yeah? They do not. Okay, one more thing you cannot prove is, we always say, oh, if you do good things, your next life, you will get good things back. You can't prove that. There's no way. Nobody has come back from another life to say, oh, I did that, therefore I got it. We only have the Buddha stories. But the Buddha tells us, your escape from samsara does not depend on whether you believe in karma or not. It does not. It's nothing to do with that. It is do good, avoid evil, purify the mind. When your mind is free, that's all you need to concern yourself with. Not whether you will be rewarded or not. The only thing you have is this present moment. You don't have a past, you don't have a future. This moment is all that is there for you to control, which you have the power to control. You don't need a God. Alright? And that's the meaning of superstition-free, ordered universe, self-help. Buddhism looks for the source of the problem. There is suffering. Oh, by the way, the word is not suffering, dukkha. We are not suffering. Yeah, we might on July the 9th, but for the moment we are not. What is suffering? The word that the Buddha uses, dukkha. And Venerable Ananda in Buddha and his teaching, he explains dukkha as contemptible emptiness. Now that's a much nicer explanation than suffering. Emptiness. We go through life and we do all these things. At the end of the day, what have we got? We do all these things, whatever we grasp, the next moment it has changed. Anicca, anatta. As a result of anicca and anatta, everything is dukkha, because we mistake the unreal for the real. We mistake the unreal for the real. Therefore, we will never be satisfied. Dukkha. Okay? So now, having explained that the dukkha pervades the universe, the Buddha says, how is it caused? It is caused by craving. And where does this craving come from? Ignorance. Ignorance of what? Anicca, dukkha, anatta. There is, I'm mistaking the real for the unreal, therefore I grasp for things, therefore I have craving, therefore I'm never satisfied, because everything I grasp changes anyway. So, pervaded. Then, again, looks at the source of the problem, the entire process of causes and conditions. Suffering, the cause of suffering, and then the Buddha says there is an opposite state. It is a state of mind where you have no suffering. The opposite of dukkha is nirvana. And then he tells us how to do it. So in that sense, very scientific. This is your disease. This is how your disease was caused. Your disease can be cured, and here is the medicine. Okay? So it's completely ordered. Alright? No punishment for error. That's a very important point. We always think in terms of our karma, we do bad, we get punished. We don't get punished. It's the natural reaction to whatever it is that is done. You disturb the universe gets disturbed. Alright? And so, how do you react? Sin, there is no concept of sin in Buddhism, by the way. Why? What is a definition of sin? Sin is where God makes a law and you go against that law. That is sin. In Buddhism, there is no God to give the laws. So, what are you left with? The cause of all your wrongdoing. There is wrongdoing. Yeah? What is wrongdoing? Right doing is, whatever I do must benefit me and must benefit the other party. It must be two-way. But if it only benefits me and does not benefit the other party, that is wrongdoing. Okay? That we call akusala kamma. The translation of akusala kamma, unskillful action. Why unskillful? Because you have no understanding. So even if a guy kills his mother, he is not committing a sin. What he is doing is, because of his ignorance, he is doing this thing. If he knew better, if he had better understanding of what mother means or whatever, if he had wisdom, he would never do such a thing. So in Buddhism, we don't talk about punishment, we talk about education. The only way to cure a man, the Buddha says, what is the meaning of a miracle? A miracle is when an ignorant man who does wrong becomes a wise man who does right. The miracle is when ignorance is converted to wisdom. That's the only miracle the Buddha says is a proper miracle. Okay? And that gets us back to akusala. People do wrong because of ignorance. If they have followed the Noble Eightfold Path and they follow the right vision and right thought and all those things, then they will perform kusala karma. Kusala karma is karma that leads you towards nirvana. There's one more called punya karma, where you do good expecting a reward. That's good, but not as good as our aim should be kusala. Okay? And neutral, impartial. I explained that with the Four Noble Truths. Is Buddhism merely scientific? Science is a form of inquiry into natural phenomena, a consensus of information held at any one time. Dharma is akalika. Whether it was spoken during the time of the Buddha or today, the Buddha says the Dharma exists whether Buddhas come or not. This is the way the universe operates. It cannot change. Alright, those principles cannot change, akalika. But science, by definition, what was true yesterday can be challenged today. And science always encourages that. Whatever I say, I expect it to be challenged by other scientists. And this freedom to think what is, Buddhism does not need that. And we know from recent history, all things that the Buddha had spoken, for example, cloning, family birth control, all these things are not written in the Buddha's words, but it's in the Dharma. How do you react to that? Okay? All of which may be modified by new discoveries. Science accepts that. And then at any moment, okay? Right. Is Buddhism merely science? What is the definition of science? Science is not interested in a moral law. When the hydrogen bomb was first exploded, it was not science's problem to see whether Japanese will be killed. Science says, I am just examining how to release energy. Okay? Discoveries are subject to change in science. Akalika in Buddhism. Science can be very destructive. Buddhism has never had a history of being destructive of anything, including other people's cultures. When you went to China, for example, it didn't destroy the Chinese culture and replace it with an Indian culture. Yeah? Neither did it change the culture of the Thais or the Japanese. It improved, it molded, but it left things alone. Okay? Science cannot do that. What science can do? Science can create monsters. And in our mythology, in all the televisions we see, we always have this fear that science can create monsters. Alright? And when science can go wrong. Yeah? Science does genetic engineering, which we do not know where it will go. And Buddhism would not support that. Okay? And finally, dukkha is a principle not found in science. Science does not concern itself with the mental state of an ordinary human being. Okay? Right. This is something we Buddhists are very, very proud about. Yeah, it's called the Charter of Free Thought. 2,500 years ago. Yeah? Till today, no other religion has come up with this. Alright? 26 centuries ago, the Buddha says, a group of young men called the Kalamas came to him and said, Master, when we go to that religious teacher, he says only he has the truth, everybody going to hell. We go the other side, they say even that fellow is going to hell, only my followers will go to heaven, and so on. Which religion do we believe? Alright? Significantly, the Buddha does not say, of course my religion. I'm the Buddha, I know everything. No. He gives you the principles on which to judge whether a religion is to be accepted or not. That same principle is the principle of science. And look how it works. Rely not on the teacher. Do not rely on the teacher or the person, but on the teaching. Don't say, oh, he looks very good, he must be right, I will follow him. No. What is he saying? Listen carefully. It is written in the book. But what is it saying? Because so and so said it does not mean you must believe. Okay? Rely on not on the teacher but on the teaching. Rely not on the words of the teaching but on the spirit of the words. Now you take the holy books of any religion. Do the people read those? Are they encouraged to read and understand and challenge? Or are they told you have to believe? Now the Buddha himself says, do not believe anything because you have heard it. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. Do not believe in anything because it is spoken and rumored by many. Many people believe in God. But have you asked yourself whether God actually exists? Alright? Do not believe in anything because it is written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and your elders. But, now here's the important point. After observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of all, then accept it. Meaning, even what I teach you as the Buddha, don't accept. Don't believe. Don't keep the holy books on your head. Read it, understand it, challenge it. And throughout the history of Buddhism, it has been, monks have been trained. And we have a beautiful book called Milinda Panha. About the 1st century, there was an Arahant called Nagasena who was questioned, challenged on karma, on soul, on heaven, on hell, on what it means to be a human being. This very intelligent king, he challenged everything that was taught by the Buddha, and the beauty is Nagasena had an answer for everything. Nagasena did not tell the king, you will go to hell. Where did Nagasena get his teaching from? 45 years of the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha said, I have left nothing for you not to understand. So if you study the Buddha's teaching deeply enough, anybody can challenge. Okay? After observation and analysis, look at those two words. Now, we are reaching the end. Mahaprajapati Gautami was the Buddha's aunt and his foster mother. His mother died when he was 5 days old, and his father married the mother's sister, Mahaprajapati Gautami. When the Buddha became a Buddha, she is the one who came and asked the Buddha to ordain her as a nun. So she is the first bhikkhuni. Okay? And one day she went and asked him, how do I tell which is the right religion or the wrong religion? And notice how neutral the Buddha is. Whatsoever teachings thou canst assure yourself thus. These doctrines conduce to passion, not to dispassion. When you follow this religion, if that religion teaches you to get angry with others, to bondage, not to detachment, to increase of worldly gains, not to decrease, to covetousness, not frugality, to greed, not contentment, to discontent, not to content, to company, not to solitude, to company, not to solitude, okay, to sluggishness, not energy, to delight in evil, not delight in good. If any religion or anything that claims to be a religion does not do these things, then you may with certainty affirm, Gautami, this is not the norm, this is not the discipline, this is not the master's message. What is the Buddha saying? Any religion, does it make you passionate? Any religion, does it make you greedy? Any religion, does it make you fight for itself? That bondage, that means you are tied to the religion, you cannot do anything freely. If any religion does that, that is not the teaching of the Buddha. But the Buddha says, if it is the opposite of all of these, then that is my teaching. It must lead to dispassion, it must lead to frugality, it must lead to solitude. You see, no belief is required. It's all to do with practice and to do with experience. Okay? Religious elements? Yes. Buddhism. The Buddha did not invent Buddhism, by the way. The Buddha taught the Dharma. When it became organized under monks and temples and so on, devotional Buddhism evolved and ism evolved. Certainly devotional, even during the Buddha's time, there were pujas, offering of flowers and taking of refuge, devotional. Organizational elements, yeah, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and so on. Myths, yeah. Myths meaning there are lots of stories which are not historically accurate, but they have a powerful, artistic message, more like poetry, yeah. But you got to go past the myth to get the truth, okay? And D.T. Suzuki was a great Buddhist scholar in the 19th century, alright? He said, I now think that a religion based only on science is not enough. Having said all of that, Suzuki, 1959 he said that. 1896 he wrote that Buddhism is a scientific religion. 50 years later, as he grows older, he says, no, you can't have religion alone that is so cold. You cannot just have religion that is purely scientific. You must satisfy the head, you must satisfy the heart. So these devotional aspects of Buddhism that we go for are necessary for your spiritual path. Okay? There are certain mythological elements in every one of us which cannot be lost altogether in favor of science. If it's just cold science, then it won't touch your heart. And what touches your heart is the religion. So a lot of things we do, scientifically we say no, but we do it anyway. Scientifically, there's no point in offering flowers to a piece of stone here. But you know the value of that if you understand correctly. So Buddhism is both. It uses a scientific method, but it is a religion. Yeah. Okay, I don't think we need to go into all this. Whether they need to be in conflict, no need. I've already said that. They need to be complementary. Yeah. They change and progress is intrinsic. Religion looks to universal truth. Dharma, akalika. Okay. Religion, that's the problem with religion. Because they believe too much in dogma. You believe this, you don't do this, you go to hell. And because of that, people turned against religion. Okay? As a reaction to dogma. Okay? Conflict arises, resist change. Religion should not resist change because of anicca. We need to change with the times. We cannot always say it was done by our fathers, and if we don't do it the same way as our father, we are not being true to Buddhism. Okay? We must only follow Theravada Buddhism. Okay? Cannot, because we have to adapt to changes, needs around new understanding of the universe. Alright? How do we apply that? By the way, on the 31st we are having a seminar, Vachana, which will address itself to this particular problem. How can the teaching of the Buddha from 2000 years ago be made relevant and meaningful to people today? Okay? And what does the Buddha say in the sutras? Okay? The role of religion is to alert humankind to the danger. Okay, I think that's the one you're looking at. 9:30. Thank you. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Mr Vijaya, for the excellent talk. Before I go to the Q&A session, I'd like to invite Brother. Okay. I'll go through with the Q&A session first. Is there any question for Uncle Vijaya? Please come forward to use the mic. Yeah.
Uncle Vijaya, many years I've been here already. Here you talk about God. Okay. Last time a few years ago, you said Buddhism have many gods. And then he feared the little ones that we had, something like we'll go to Christianity and all this. That's why I just want to ask you a question. Is there a God? Many gods. And then some more one thing. From the sutra, I understand when before the Buddha, after the Buddha get enlightenment, about the 3rd week or 7th day, he created a golden bridge, a pimana, spread up on the river, and he walked up and down. He showed to the God of heaven that he is able to create the bridge, golden bridge.
I'm so glad Reverend is here. I don't think in our Theravada tradition we have the Buddha during the first 7 weeks creating a bridge to show heaven. Yes or no, Brent? Did the Buddha create a bridge that showed the way to heaven during the first? No. Not in our Theravada tradition, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is in the Mahayana tradition, which I don't know about. But certainly I have to answer with the authority of Reverend here. In our Theravada tradition, what the Buddha did do was he walked up and down for a week in walking meditation. But whether another one, when he was contemplating dependent origination, he created the Ratnagraha, the jeweled chamber where he was inside, concentrating on the dependent origination, not to create, to show heaven. Okay? Now your first question was, yes, I did speak about gods. The universe, remember the wheel of life? We have 31 planes of existence. Our late chief was just talking about it at 7:30, that there are many beings that are above us, beings that are in a sense more powerful than us, who are still subject to lobha, dosa, moha, the 3 defilements. They are still subject, but because of certain things they did in this life, they are enjoying the benefits of that. Okay? But mostly pleasurable benefits. Some get more houses or whatever. Those type of gods do exist. But God in the sense of someone who created the world, the Buddha went to great lengths to explain. No, Baka Brahma comes to mind. The Buddha said, no, you Mahabrahma, you did not create the world. You got that impression because you came first. So a creator God, we have the Buddha's authority to say no, no such thing. A God who can save us, no, because the Buddha says only you can save yourself by purifying the mind. So yes, I talked about gods, but I did not talk about a God. Okay? Except to say it doesn't. Thank you. Nice question. Thank you.